I'll take you back to when I was in my teens. I would have been at this point 17 years old in high school. I believe I was a junior. And there had been a film that came out that I have a friend that went to go see, Platoon, of course, about Vietnam. And I didn't really know a lot about Vietnam. I started to learn in school that it was happening when I was born. It had already been going for a while. And then it lasted a few more years. But my music teacher, Mr. Basil, in high school, brought in this piece of music. It was from Samuel Barber, Adagio for Strings, a piece of music that still hits me on lots of different levels. And he played this piece that it shows up in several places throughout the film Platoon, directed by Oliver Stone. And I hadn't seen the movie, but this version of Adagio for Strings from Barber, which was from the early 20th century, had this monologue from Charlie Sheen that really hit me. I don't know what it was. I just got it. And I remember going that weekend and buying the soundtrack cassette, the cassette tape for the movie. And it had Tracks of My Tears, White Rabbit, all these songs I already knew. But at the end was Adagio for Strings with Charlie's monologue. And I remember just sitting with it and listening and allowing this to really move into my soul. All of a sudden, I have this echo experience where I'm in Vietnam. And it was a wild thing because I would flash between being in an experience and kind of like watching an experience, like Ebenezer Scrooge with one of the ghosts watching, but not necessarily involved. And I was kind of flashing back and forth, like fluttering or flittering between these two different dimensions of reality. And I felt such an immense pain, and I felt such immense levels and layers of loss, and went into this full-blown emotional overload. And I'm literally sobbing like a child. I'm 17 years old. I'm a high school kid, you know, guitar player, all this other kind of stuff in like heavy rock bands and stuff. And here I am blubbering. And I really felt, for some reason, it was wild. It was like I felt guilty on some level for Vietnam. This is when I started to realize, all right, you know, years later, I realized people would talk about being an empath, but they would always make this mistake of saying they could feel someone else's pain. You don't feel someone else's pain. What you feel is what their experience and or pain resonates that's already within you. Because if it wasn't in you, you wouldn't feel it. That's the unique fun grab from my desk of us being one point of awareness. One unique point of awareness within the eternal light of God. We're having our own unique experience. And one of the biggest mistakes that people have today is they think they're feeling someone's pain when what's really happening is that movement is resonating what's within you. And that's what empathy is. And I realized I wasn't just another empath. I was some kind of what I've been calling for decades an ultra-empath. I've been saying that for like 30 years now, where it's like, for some reason, things hit me wider, bigger, and harder. And I don't know why. But this whole Vietnam experience was so incredibly profound for me. I'm sobbing like a child. And all of a sudden the phone rings, and it was actually my girlfriend from high school. And she's like, what's going on? Why are you crying? And I'm like, Vietnam. You got to understand, this is like 1989 that this happened. And I mean, you think about that, and then literally within months, all of a sudden, my eye started getting pulled sideways. This would have been in 1990, in my senior year in high school, by this amazing little Vietnamese Buddhist monk named Thich Nhat Hanh, Thai teacher. Bless his heart, rest in peace. And it was wild reading his books. The first one was Being Peace, and dozens afterward that I've read over and over and over. Being Peace I've probably read 20 times. But him speaking of how he was helping with boats, etc., with lots of other monks, refugees get out of Vietnam during the war, and was ultimately banned from his own country. He did eventually go back before his passing, but it's an incredible experience for me to just walk through life and just for some reason feel that there's just more of the game resonating for me than for a lot of other people. A lot of other people, I've really had to learn to cut it off. Like as I began to increase my psychic abilities, I had to learn how to say, hey, leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. I don't want to talk to your granddaughter right now, and those kinds of things. You really have to learn how to, I don't necessarily want to say just set boundaries, but shift your focus and allowing myself to come back to the center of my being, taking a really deep breath and just let go. As we move forward over these next few years for humanity, more and more often, us empaths and what I call ultra-empaths are going to have moments when we're just flooded with emotion and not knowing exactly what it is. That's okay. It's okay. Stop. Take a breath and be open. Allow yourself to ride the rise and fall of your breath. What is most important is that we allow whatever is resonating and moving in the system to voice. And learning to understand, and I got this almost 40 years ago from that first entrance into Buddhist study, is to remember and to realize that whatever it is that's moving or resonating in the moment, that we allow it to voice, we allow it to breathe. That doesn't necessarily mean you speak it, but what I'm saying is breathe into it. Allow any resistance to fall away, because that's what I really began to learn when I started diving into Buddhism almost 40 years ago now, is that resistance equals suffering. And I ultimately came to learn something that I've say over and over now, is that our suffering is always in 100% direct proportion to our resistance. Resistance of what? Resistance of whatever is moving in this present moment. I'll say that's the second beatitude right there, la vile. It's amazing how when we let go and allow ourselves to be the voice of eternity, how much more after that we're able to comprehend the love, the essence, the peace, and the wisdom and the light of eternity. It's an amazing experience. Allow yourself to be open. There's nothing wrong with how you feel, including those floods of emotion that come out of nowhere that I have no idea what it is or what it even means. You don't need to know what it is. Just allow it to voice. Obviously, you are responsible enough that it was brought to you, knowing that you would know how to care for it and love it. I love you all so dearly. Amen.